In this video, you're going to see some of the rarest and most amazing checkmates that you will ever see. Level 100 is mind-boggling, so make sure you don't miss that one. You can pause this video as we go through and try to solve these positions yourself, or you can just sit back and enjoy the show. Huge thanks to everyone who submitted these positions. Every position that you see in this video came from my subscribers' submissions, so thanks a lot to you guys. Make sure to leave a comment letting me know which position you think was the best, although my vote's for level 100. But we've got a lot to cover. Let's get started. Here's level 1. What would you play for black? This position gets the title of the back rank pin mate. The move is rook to f1, checkmate on the spot because this bishop is pinned by the queen and white's king has nowhere to go. Level 4. What do you play as white? This is the knight fork mate. Knight comes back, which forks the king and queen, but also delivers checkmate because there is nowhere for that king to go. Level 7. What do you play as black? This is the pinned pawn royal fork checkmate. Knight to g3 is a royal fork on these pieces. Pawn is pinned so it can't take, and the queen takes away this escape route. That's a nice checkmate. Level 10. What do you play as white? This is the double isolated checkmate. Rook to g4, and these are the most powerful double isolated pawns that you will ever see. There is nowhere for that black king to go. Level 14. What do you play as white? Of course, I couldn't do a video like this without including at least one smothered checkmate. So this is the sneaky smothered checkmate, where the knight comes in, and that's all she wrote. Here's level 17. What would you play for white? This position is the pawn fork checkmate. g4 not only forks the king and the rook, it's also checkmate because the rook covers here, this rook covers here, the bishop covers here, and there's a pawn there. Game over. This is level 20. What do you play as black? This is the double bishop checkmate. Bishop to g4 is checkmate on the spot, and that is game over. This is level 24. What would you play for black? This is the 3 knight checkmate, and knight to g1 is actually checkmate on the spot, with all the knights doing a fantastic job of checkmating the king. Level 27. What do you play as black? This is the endgame knight checkmate. Knight to f6 is simply checkmate on the spot. Level 30. What do you play as black? This was the h-file checkmate. After capturing with the rook, king takes, this rook comes over, and white can say goodbye to not only the 2 rooks, but also the king. Can't escape because the bishop and these 2 pawns. This is level 34. What do you play for black? So this was the queen sack bishop smothered checkmate. After bishop to e7, white captured the queen, and black played bishop h4, checkmate. Level 37. What do you play for white? This is the 4-piece pile-up mate. Bishop to e7 is actually checkmate on the spot. It defends the rook, attacks the king. This bishop controls here, this knight controls here, and the pawn here. That's game over. Level 40. What do you play as white? This is the double rook battery checkmate. After the rook takes, there is no escape for this king, and that's a nice checkmate. Level 43. What do you play for black? This is the partially smothered bishop and knight checkmate. Bishop to g3 is checkmate because the white king can't move here, and there's all these pieces in the way. Good game. Level 47. What do you play as white? This is the pawn race knight checkmate. After king to g6, black's pawn captures and is about to get a queen. Check, king goes over, knight moves, the queen happens, and the knight delivers the checkmate in the corner. Level 50. What do you play as black? This is the 2x2 pawn checkmate. 2x2, checkmate. Level 54. What do you play for white? This is the castle kingside checkmate. Rook f1 is not good enough. You actually need to castle kingside. Delivers the mate because the knight controls here and here. Pawn controls here. And that is game over. Level 57. What would you play as white? This is the knight and bishop combo mate. Knight to f6. Attacks the king. Bishop is controlling these squares and defended by the pawn. Good game. This is level 60. What do you play for black? This was the mate with your own king checkmate. King to f7 was played in the game, unleashing the rook, and that's game over. This is level 64. What do you play for black? This was the g5 pawn checkmate. Pawn up, rook covers these squares, bishop covers these squares, pawns are controlling all of these squares. Good game. This is level 67. What do you play for white? This was the double pawn mate. Pawn to g5 is checkmate. This is level 70. What would you play as black? This is the knight and 2 pawn combo mate. Delivers the checkmate. because the pawns are controlling all of these and the king defends here. This is level 74. What do you play for black? This was the 3-piece corner mate. Bishop to b2 is checkmate immediately. The knight covers this square and is defended by the other knight. Level 77. What would you play as black? This is the knight c3, knight f3, checkmate. Both knights are controlling all of these squares, and white has nowhere to go. Level 80. What would you play as white? This is the d4 pawn checkmate. So normally when you play the move d4, it's at the start of the game, but in this case, it's at the end of the game. Checkmate with the pawn because the bishop controls here, the rook controls here, and all these pawns are controlling everything else. Good game. Level 84. What do you play for white? This was the queen sack pawn checkmate. Queen to h6 forces the pawn to capture, and then we push forward, and that is a nice checkmate. Level 87. What would you play as white? This is the double pawn corner checkmate. You bring the queen to g7, forcing black to capture, and then when you recapture with the pawn, it's a beautiful checkmate. Both of these pawns are defended. Good game. Level 90. What do you play for white? This was the castle queenside checkmate. Unleashes the rook, king can't move, castling queenside, and also delivering checkmate, something that I personally have never done. Level 94. What do you play for white? Well, I presume most of you noticed the fact that your king was in check by the queen. That's why we get the title of the block your own check and deliver mate at the same time, discover checkmate. Rook back to f1, blocks the queen's check, unleashes the queen on b3, which is checkmate. Level 97, what do you play for black? This is called the en passant checkmate. After f4, we can en passant, which unleashes the bishop, rook controls the back rank, and that is a nice checkmate. Now for level 100, the checkmate itself is pretty incredible, but when you see the game leading up to the checkmate, well, it just makes it that much more amazing. So I'm going to show you the entire game. Don't worry, we're going to go quickly and we're going to get to the end, but you don't want to miss this. Here we go. So we have a 2 knights defense that gets very crazy really fast after knight to d4. We've got lots of action, and at this point white is in trouble and the king starts walking, and the king keeps on walking, keeps on walking, keeps on walking, and assists in delivering checkmate. Wow. All I have to say is wow. Huge thanks to Board Isolator for sending me this game. Unfortunately, they were on the wrong side and playing black pieces, but regardless, this is one of the most amazing games that I think I've ever seen. Let me know in the comments which mate you thought was the best. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, take care.